Hey, what's going on? It's John, and it's time for the JMART CAST for Monday, October 18th. What's going on? How are ya? Well, I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I got sick. I got sick earlier this week. After spending not all of my, but a portion of my podcast last week talking all this shit about doctors and how zinc lozenges help prevent colds and how I used it to prevent a cold. Then I go on and get one. So that's kind of funny. So I'll tell you what happened. Here's what happened. A recap of the week prior was that on my kid had gone to daycare on Monday and Tuesday and picked up something from the daycare from hanging out with the other kids and infected me. And by Wednesday morning, I felt the usual symptoms of like a cold, having a sore throat and slightly congested nose. And immediately I had taken like zinc lozenges, a few. I think I ended up taking like 3 that day. And then the next day I was like feeling a lot better. And I continued that course basically. And by Friday I was like basically felt back to normal. And because I felt back to normal, I thought, oh, maybe I must have cleared it already. I was completely fine. And then I ended up going to see family on Sunday for Thanksgiving dinner. Also on Monday morning, I went and saw another friend, and we went hunting together for ducks. We went duck hunting together. And so after those 2 days, on Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling very sick, more so than what I had felt on Wednesday or Thursday. Immediately, I went on to do my normal kind of protocol that I follow if I get a cold. Is I do my 3 things. Is I have bread with butter and honey. Then I also drink a lot of tea throughout the day, and then I make a chicken soup. And then this time, since it was just after Thanksgiving, I had a bunch of turkey, but I used like some chicken bone broth that I have in the freezer. I thawed that, and I used that with the turkey to make a hybrid soup, turkey chicken soup. So I did that basically for 3 days, starting off on Tuesday. That was the first day. Wednesday was about the same, probably a little bit worse. Probably the peak of it. Was feeling better by Thursday, had a slight sore throat and a bit of a cough, and then Friday was feeling really good in the morning. I put on some Sandstorm and started dancing in the morning. Like I was like, okay, I'm definitely feeling better today, because the previous 3 days, there's no way I would have wanted to do this. But yeah, I was dancing up a storm to Sandstorm on Friday morning. Just had a slightly runny nose, and I was fine. And now it's just this congestion. So hopefully in a couple of days I'll clear this too. And that's it. She's done. So yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, was it that I initially got infected and then it took a while for like the symptoms to actually come on? Or did I clear the first infection and then get infected again? Because obviously Bennett was still sick the whole time. And I was like right next to him. I don't know. It's possible it could have infected me a second time, but regardless, I think the good thing that I'm grateful for, is the fact that I only had to go through 3 days of like feeling really ill and low energy, not like myself where I, couldn't even get myself up to dance, like I said. And that's just like a daily thing that I do. If I can't dance, then, J-Mart's down for the count. The other way that I knew that I was feeling better on Friday, it's kind of a funny one actually, is just like my body's ability to absorb water was like completely changed on Friday. So on Tuesday through Thursday, like I said, I was drinking tea nonstop all throughout the day. And Normally, if I drink that much liquids, let alone tea, then I will be going to the bathroom like every 20 minutes. But those days, I was just absorbing that tea like nobody's business. I was just drinking it and didn't have to go to the bathroom at all. And then on Friday, that was the day that I was going like every 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay, this is different. It was a good sign because that's what I'm normally used to. But yeah, I guess the question is, did the zinc lozenges fail? And I don't know. I guess you could argue it both ways. I think if I have the choice of taking them or not, I'm going to take them. But possibly this time it didn't work. Or maybe it, kept the viral load so low enough that I was able to clear it in 3 days and, be fine. It could be one way of looking at it also. Hard to say. Either way, early treatment is the real takeaway for this for me, right? And that's really what we should be doing with everyone who gets infected with COVID or SARS-CoV-2, the virus. COVID is the disease, what they call the disease, right? And so if we did that and had that kind of the same level of effort we have behind the vaccine, if we had that level of effort behind early treatment, then we could actually be saving the ICUs from being overrun. We could be saving people from dying, because there seems to be there's lots of early treatments out there that could be used by people to, guide our way through this pandemic without having to, destroy people's lives. But for some reason, early treatment is not something that is universally agreed upon. Instead of giving some sort of treatment to people who tested positive in hospitals, they would be sent home until they basically felt worse and bad enough to be back at the hospital. Meanwhile, for every other viral infection, early treatment is universally agreed upon somehow. Who knows why that is? There's only one way out of this pandemic, and it is only when 100% of the population gets vaccinated and then continues to get vaccinated as new people arrive at the age of 12. That's the only way we can get through this. And with that, the negatives part of the podcast is over. Sorry about that. We're going to turn positive now. Okay, here we go. Positive J-Mart. So before all this happened, as I kind of quickly glossed over it, while I potentially might have been ill, I did go see a bunch of people, such as Carly's family for Thanksgiving dinner. I didn't infect them, I don't believe, but I also went and saw my buddy who I went hunting with. And so it turns out, I confirmed it through text with him. He did get sick, so I didn't infect him. He was very gracious and understanding and did not get mad at me. He understands that children pass a lot of these colds around. And he's a good guy, and I love him for it. Thank you, buddy. But yeah, we did go hunting. I was going to share this story actually before the hunting. What I did was, because this was my first hunt of the year, I did the right proper thing, which was to clean my gun. I learned how to disassemble it through the help of my old friend, University of YouTube. It only took me half an hour to go through a bunch of videos and find the one that was most like the one that had a shotgun disassembly, most like the one that I have. And thankfully, I was able to figure out how to put mine, take mine apart, gave it a nice good clean. Everything was super shiny. I was, you could see down the barrel how perfectly shiny it was. No scratch marks, no nothing. Cleaned it real good. I got one of those. I don't even know what it's called. It's like a rod, I guess, that you push down the barrel. I bought a cleaning kit from a place nearby. And so, cleaned it real good and successfully put it back together. And everything was working fine. And then on Monday, woke up super early, 3 a.m., got ready and dropped off Carly at work for a 4 a.m. shift. Then drove for about an hour and a half down the 401. I won't say exactly where, just because And so that's where my buddy's from, and we basically met up pretty early in the morning. I got there a little early and killed some time, but then we met up around 6. And I think sunrise is around 7:30 that day, so we had another half hour to get ready and meet up with another buddy. And then we went to the duck pond, which is this little pond in the middle of a cornfield. My buddy knows the farmer whose field it is, and we have permission to go there. And they've built this nice little blind right in the middle of the pond, which is not like real what you'd expect for a pond, where it's a very marshy pond basically, where ducks like to hang out. And so wearing these waders, which have suspenders around my shoulders, I'm walking through this pond, and the water's getting up to my waist until I can finally get to the ladder that kind of leads me out of the water onto this stand, which is like, or this blind, which is covered in a camo patterned burlap all around. And so we get there by like 6:45. We're all set up, and I think, like I said, sunrise was around 7:30, so you're allowed to hunt a half an hour before sunrise. So by 7, we were ready to start shooting. And so I think we were there for like about a half hour. And as we're like, keeping our eyes open, all of a sudden, I'm the first one to notice a flock of ducks flying, and they were coming right through the pond, and nobody else had noticed. So rather than kind of get a good grip on my gun, I yell out, "Birds, guys, birds." And everybody else, like right away, they were on their guns, and like just as the birds like right in front of us, they were shooting. And me, because I was, I don't know, so preoccupied with telling everybody else, because I was the first one to notice them, which never happens, I totally forgot about my gun, and I didn't even get the safety off and be ready to shoot them as they were right in front of us. Like it was embarrassing. So I didn't get a shot off, even though I was the first person to see the ducks. Didn't even take the safety off. And then after that was the last time that a flock of birds came by. We ended up staying there for quite a while longer, until at least 10, I think maybe even 10:30. And nothing else flew by. And we had like decoys in the water. My buddies had their duck calls. They were doing the calls. But yeah, that was our only chance to shoot. And I didn't even get my safety off. Oh boy. Yeah, I still got a long ways to go to call myself a real hunter, but I'm learning, I'm getting there. At least I had the gun taking apart and putting back together experience. Still need to shoot it to make sure I put it back together properly, but I'm pretty sure I did. And so we'll take the L on that one and move on and learn from that and come back better. I'll still have a couple more hunts this year, I think, before the baby girl joins us. So I'll definitely take advantage and hopefully get some ducks and geese on those opportunities. All right, plowing on ahead. What else happened this week? Oh yeah, kind of funny now, but not at the time thing that happened was Wednesday morning, I think. My son, almost fell down from the top of the stairs, like almost went tumbling down all the way. But luckily, my man was holding onto the rails like a champ. Like, I think he was wearing socks, and he's just not used to the slipperiness of the socks. And he took a step down and took a real big spill, but his right hand was hanging on to that railing, and he hung on for dear life, literally, as his like foot like just slipped, and he fell kind of like cartoonishly on his bum and was gonna keep sliding down the steps, but his hand kept hanging onto the rail, and he just spun himself around because of that grip, and he was completely fine. And by then I caught him. But had he not been hanging on, there's no way there was enough time for me to catch him. So that was crazy. Thank goodness for my man being so safe all the time. He's always had this like fear of just heights and objects, like things that you can tell, like if he's are bigger than him, and if he were to fall, like something bad would happen. So he's smart enough for that, and he definitely paid off this time around. And then when it actually happened, he like knew that that was a serious thing, and he started crying actually, because he was like totally understandable. It's you would have like aftershock, like at the moment, you know, you don't think, you just act, but then afterwards, once you realize, you get that aftershock. That's definitely happened to me, and could tell that was happening to him. So I picked him up right away. I was like congratulating him for doing such a good job and like hanging on, and just like encouraging him to do that some more, and just being like, way to go, buddy. That's the exact reason. You understand what goes on. Like if you were to fall and tumble down the stairs, that would be really, really bad, but you didn't, because you're smart enough to hold on to the rail. You're my man. And just like did that for like 5 minutes, and he was still crying and whining a little bit, but I was able to like just distract him enough that after 5 minutes it was done. Speaking of the kid, he had a nice little play date on Saturday. We had some friends over on Saturday, and they have a little girl, and she's only a few months, maybe 6 months or so older than our little guy. And so we're excited to have them over and have the kids play a little bit and see our friends who we hadn't seen in a while. It was a really nice time. I made a lamb shoulder roast, which turned out pretty sweet. And the kids had a nice time hanging out. It almost didn't happen because both us, of course, were sick, and then turns out they were sick too. But both of us had like cleared, you know, the illness enough that we were just like, forget it. We've delayed seeing each other long enough. We are not delaying this anymore. So they came and visited us, and so the kids had a lot of fun playing together, and we had a great time catching up. I was trying to orange pill my buddy, and he had like he was just having none of it. Orange pilling means when you're trying to like introduce Bitcoin to your friends, and you're like, you should really consider like learning about it. And he's like, I don't know. He was having a hard time getting past the fact that like it's digital and you can't hold it in the physical world. So why would it have value? Yeah, that is a difficult place to get stuck at, because you know, most things are turning digital these days, right? Like very few people still listen to analog music, right? Like vinyl records and things like that. Most people listen to MP3s now. They're just superior in many ways. And I think money's going the same way. It's analog money, such as gold or cash, is going to turn digital, and just depends on what kind of digital you want. Do you want digital money controlled by the state, or do you want digital money not controlled by anybody? Put me in that second camp. Since we're talking about Bitcoin anyway, let's do our Bitcoin update, which has become like a weekly thing that I do now. Let's start with the price as per usual. So let's see. The best place to check out the price is bitbo.io. That's what I like doing. So let's see. Price is currently consolidating right around 60,000. It's at $60,708 US currently. And let's see, a week ago, it was in the mid 50s, right? So about a 10% pump. Not that it matters, of course. Well, what does matter, J-Mart? What do you think? If price doesn't matter, what matters? Well, have you ever asked yourself, what is money? It's a difficult question. I never had asked myself that, if I'm being honest. Not until I came across this person named Robert Breedlove, and he posed the question, and then he has an entire show dedicated to it. If you guys want to check it out, it's called What is Money? Robert Breedlove. And like, it blew my mind that I never, like, I had thought about it, I guess, in parts, but never really dove deep on it, because it didn't make sense ever. So, you know, it just didn't make sense to pursue something that that I didn't understand, that didn't make sense. But when you stop and think about it, here's what I've learned. Money is a store of value. It is a medium of exchange, and it is a unit of account. Now, in order to be all those three things, it needs to have certain properties. It needs to have 5 particular properties that if you can maximize those properties, then it will be the perfect money. So first of all, it needs to be divisible. That one makes sense, right? You need to be able to make large payments, small payments. You need that capability. It needs to be portable, right? To be able to transport it from place to place easily, so that you can, spend it on wherever you need to at the location that the person can receive it. It needs to be durable. You don't want money that just disappears on you because it's like shells or something and somebody breaks it for some reason. That would be a bad form of money. So durability is important. You need something that's recognizable. This is one that people don't think about, but something that's easily recognizable, right? Like, so something that can't be faked very, very easily. Of course, that makes sense why. And then last one, it needs to be scarce. Everyone knows this one. And this is why people think that gold is or was used as a form of money. And that's part of it too. But it's the combination of all of those 5 properties. And, if you take the time and you do your homework and you do your research and look into what composes Bitcoin and why people have so much faith in it, then I think you will come to the same conclusion that Bitcoin is better than gold in all 5 of those properties, which makes it a more sound money, a better form of money, and one which has a philosophy of sovereignty and freedom. And that's why I would rather choose that digital form of money rather than a state-controlled digital form of money. Yeah, I just don't trust the state. I mean, there's just a story that came out earlier this week I read it on the National Post, and I have it in front of me right now. And the title says, "Error in Judgment," in quotes. CBC Edmonton regrets mannequin's use in COVID-19's news report. And basically they just had like this report about how the ICU operates in Edmonton. And because they weren't allowed to take like actual video footage of what's going on in the ICU, they just like made like a fake video of like a mannequin with all this like code blue equipment on it to make it seem like it's in dire straits and whatnot, and to scare people into not wanting to go into the ICU, which they shouldn't, of course not. But we don't need to have like fake footage of mannequins with life-sustaining equipment on them as a way of convincing people to not want to go to the ICU. This is just a month after I shared that conversation that I was a part of in a group chat with a friend, where my friend was making the point that CBC is like they hold a higher standard when reporting news, when clearly they don't. Like, I'll remind everybody exactly what happened. My one friend was saying in an ironic way, "Yes, I prefer my information to be carefully cultivated by the state." And my more gullible friend was saying that you say that as if it's a fact. I have to see evidence of this, and the fact it's funded by the government with no strings attached gives me more confidence than one which is owned by Jeff Bezos or any other billionaire. Again, this is evidence right here that there's some sort of information that the state wants you to receive in a particular way, and they're carefully cultivating that message, passing it out to CBC and transmitting it into your brain. And then the second part of his message was, you let people stream to the masses. There's no fact checkers there, no duty to be unbiased, and there's no accountability. It puts those which have no standards on par with those that have a higher level of standard and professionalism. Well, there's clearly no level of like standard or professionalism at CBC Edmonton when they, instead of admitting that they're not allowed to take footage of the ICU at this time, which is like very understandable in the middle of a pandemic. The last thing you want is cameras in there taking videos and like potentially, getting infected or whatever the hell happens. It's unnecessary for that, and most people would understand that and not need to have a fake footage of a mannequin to help them understand that it's probably not a good idea to end up in the ICU. And then the bigger and even more egregious example of this was what happened with Joe Rogan and Ivermectin. And what's funny was most recently this week, that Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who's like the head doctor, medical professional who works at CNN, went on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast to do an interview, and Joe Rogan grilled him about why the hell did CNN lie about him taking horse deworming medicine. He clearly took human medicine. Why were they like lying about this? And he totally grilled that Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Not that he was the one that deserved it, but he was kind of like he was the stand-in for the CNN, or like the whoever makes decisions at the CNN. And I came across this amazing video edit of all the different pundits on CNN talking about how Joe Rogan takes horse dewormer and how clearly that's not true. And they definitely know that that's a false statement that this news organization is transmitting out there. You guys got to listen to this. Just check this out.
It blows my mind that Joe Rogan just yesterday admitted to taking ivermectin.
Ivermectin is something more often used to deworm horses.
CNN is saying I'm taking horse dewormer.
Rogan telling his 13 million Instagram followers that he was treated with several drugs, and he included ivermectin on the list, a drug used for livestock.
Rogan said the word ivermectin. Yes, that's the deworming medicine made to kill parasites in farm animals.
Why would they lie and say that's horse dewormer?
So things are clearly bad, but they're being made even worse by people who have refused to take the vaccine and instead are swallowing horse paste.
Wait a second. He said that he got better because he ate cattle dewormer.
They must know that that's a lie.
You have individuals like Joe Rogan, for example, who don't want to take an experimental vaccine but will take horse dewormer.
Well. If it isn't old horseworm Rogan.
Ivermectin is often used to deworm livestock.
Ivermectin apparently given to deworm animals.
It's a lie on a news network, and it's a lie that's a lie that they're conscious of. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
They're unfavorably framing it as veterinary medicine.
Joe Rogan, he came down with COVID. He says he's been taking the livestock dewormer ivermectin.
They lied and said I was taking horse dewormer.
Ivermectin is a drug that is commonly used as a horse dewormer.
They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor.
You know what doctors say? Doctors say you can take it for humans. Yeah, but not for coronavirus.
He may not have gotten it from the feed supply store, but it's the same compound.
When you have a horse deworming medication that's discouraged by the government, that actually causes some people in this crazed environment we're in to actually want to try it. That's the upside down world we're in with figures like Joe Rogan.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
He also acknowledged taking a controversial treatment designed for animals.
Does it bother you that the news network you work for out and out lied, just outright lied about me taking horse dewormer?
They shouldn't have said that.
Why did they do that? I don't know.
Just perfect. Just perfect. I know that was a little bit long. It was so good. So worth it. Why are they trying to crush it so much? If it didn't work and was actually harming people, then I think people would quickly figure that out and stop doing it. Maybe I'm naive in that thinking. I just don't trust the government. I've come to accept that. And this is why I'm learning as much as I can about Bitcoin. And I'm learning about this layer 2 Lightning Network technology. And it's pretty cool. I'm got my node that I'm running, and I'm connecting to a bunch of other nodes and creating these channels and trying to figure out what I can do to make my node more connected and support the network. And I'm learning all these new things, and I'm pretty excited about it. And it feels like the same feeling I had when I first was going to university to study science. I have that same kind of drive to just keep learning out of sheer want to do it, not because I have to. It's neat that it can still happen at mid 30s. So, well, I'm only 33, so early. Let's call it 30s. I don't have to age myself too quickly here. But yeah, the Lightning Network is pretty awesome. I'll talk about it more in the next podcast. I think I'm done for this one. Not 100% recovered, mostly 95% there, but it's been a long week, so I'm just gonna cut it just shy of 30 minutes here. Close enough for me for today. Everyone have a good week. I'll catch you on the next one. J-Mart out.